Have you ever wondered if an old camera from 2010 can still hold up today? Well, in this video, I'll be diving into my experiences with the Panasonic Lumix LX5. So, whether you're a photography enthusiast or just plain curious, stick around because this little camera has some surprises up its sleeve. LX5 is a point-and-shoot camera from 2010. I won't dive too deep into its specs because you can easily look those up yourselves. Just know it has a 10 megapixel CCD sensor and a focal length range of 24mm to 120mm with a variable aperture of f2 to f3.3 at the widest end. First, let's talk about the most annoying aspect of this camera, which is the lens cap. Honestly, this is a slight nitpick, but the camera is already slow enough, and having to remove the lens cap each time I want to take a quick snap has cost me a lot of moments. You might say, just leave the lens cap off then, but the lens will be exposed and could get scratched if I carry it in my pocket or my bag. Sure, I can buy retractable lens caps for this camera, but why would I spend more for an already expensive second-hand camera? Despite that one issue though, it's not really a deal breaker per se. Yes, the camera is slow and the UI is clunky while the buttons are a bit harder to operate. Plus my screen has a huge gash since it is a used unit. The screen isn't that great under direct sunlight or at certain angles either. But these drawbacks honestly don't matter if you want something fun and reliable to shoot with. The Lumix LX5 has a pop-up flash that works decently for its size. I was surprised at how even the light was coming out of such a small flash. It isn't smooth per se, but it isn't harsh either. However, if you don't like using the on-camera flash, this also has a hot shoe. I guess the main reason or the main intent of including that hot shoe was to mount a removable EVF, which honestly is a very pricey piece of kit in of it itself. Personally, I've been mounting my Lightpix Q20 on it. This is a versatile setup as I can use it on the camera and still bounce the light to the ceiling, or better yet, have it become an off-camera flash and direct it from whichever direction I prefer. I've also used it with a softbox as well, allowing for a much smoother light on my subjects. I primarily use this camera for black and white photography. It has a dynamic black and white filter, or as they call it, simulation, that hooked me immediately when I first tested it out. Sometimes I post the black and white JPEG straight out of the camera, but honestly I still edit most of them since I enjoy the editing process. Call me corny, but it makes me feel alive, or at least not bored in a way. Anyway, shooting black and white helps pass off noise as grain since the camera doesn't handle low light and high ISO very well. As for color rendering, I can't say much since I'm used to its black and white capabilities. However, the colors are pleasing and I have no complaints here. I usually leave the aspect ratio at 16:9 for that more cinematic look, which is why I don't often shoot portrait-oriented pictures with this camera. If I do need to shoot portraits of people, I usually leave it on landscape and crop the picture later, or just switch it to a different aspect ratio. I think of this as my mini digital X pen, just with adjustable aspect ratios and focal lengths. The autofocus is fast enough for slower photography styles. For me personally, I use it for portraits, still life, street photography, and most of my behind the scenes work. Surprisingly, it also has focus tracking, although it needs some help to choose what to track. I have used it for some sports photography too. Overall, the autofocus is a bit slow, but it's still serviceable for most of your photography needs. Here's what I really love about the LX5. I can set it up to show a focal length scale at the bottom of the screen, and it remembers the last focal length that I used. When I turn the camera back on, it jumps back to that focal length. It's a small feature, but it significantly impacts how I shoot with this camera. Now for a quick fire round of some of the other things that I like about this camera. First of all, it has a solid build, and it also has a decently good grip, which is comfortable despite of its small and portable size. It also has surprisingly good video quality as well, although you do need to switch to the MPEG-4 format, since the AVC HD format that it defaults to is quite difficult to work with at times. It also has a long battery life, because honestly I haven't charged this camera for more than 6 months now and it still has some juice left in it. Lastly, it also can shoot raw pictures, but honestly I haven't been using it often lately. So if you're considering buying the LX5, be prepared for the high prices on the second-hand market. I bought mine at the beginning of the Digicam craze and still paid a decent amount. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one.